In the trendy cafes of Toronto or the glass-walled offices of Vancouver, people still speak of GDP and unemployment rates with a strange sense of complacency. But deep beneath that calm surface, a lethal crack is widening. Canada is not just facing a typical recession. We are witnessing the silent collapse of the real estate finance industry, a pillar that once accounted for nearly 20% of the national economy. Look at the numbers that do not lie. Household debt has now exceeded 100% of GDP, a level of peril that global economic history has rarely seen without a subsequent tragedy. As the Bank of Canada holds interest rates high to curb inflation, the money machine, fueled by debt refinancing and housing speculation, has suddenly ground to a halt. The crackle of the bursting bubble didn't start with a loud bang, but with thousands of foreclosure filings and the bloodied balance sheets of private lenders. We are standing before a scenario where confidence in the stability of the loonie could be shaken to its core. A collapse is unfolding in the shadows, where even the most optimistic experts are beginning to feel the chill of a prolonged financial winter. The first signs of the earthquake did not appear in major headlines, but in the liquidity ratios of private mortgage investment corporations, MICs. As the Bank of Canada (BARC) maintains rates at an elevated threshold, the cost of capital has skyrocketed, strangling the flow of funds into real estate. In satellite cities surrounding Ontario, new home sales have plummeted to their lowest levels in decades, yet prices remain artificially buoyed by seller expectations. This is the terrifying frozen state before the fall. Credit default swaps. CDs are beginning to fluctuate, reflecting the unease of the financial elite regarding the public's solvency. A generation of borrowers with variable rate mortgages is falling into the negative amortization trap, where monthly payments no longer cover the interest, causing the principal to grow larger over time. For sale signs hang longer, construction sites grow quiet, and appraisal units are slashing expectations. This collapse is silent because it is masked by short-term employment reports. But in reality, the foundation of artificial prosperity built on debt is eroding daily, preparing for a free fall in asset values that no one will be ready for. To understand why Canada is in this predicament, we must examine the mechanics of a classic debt shock. The Canadian economy has been addicted to cheap capital for over a decade, creating a toxic feedback loop. Rising home prices led to increased debt, which in turn fueled consumption and superficial growth. When interest rates jumped from near zero to over 4 to 5%, this mechanism reversed into a death spiral. The debt service ratio has surged, squeezing household disposable income and directly neutralizing the economy's aggregate demand. In econometric models, this is the breaking point of the demand curve. Secondary market liquidity is drying up as banks tighten lending standards to protect their balance sheets. A widespread margin call effect is occurring for multi-unit property owners as collateral values drop. Loans are forced into capital calls or involuntary liquidations. Most dangerously, the disconnect between real income and housing costs has reached such an extreme that the system can no longer achieve a soft self-correction. Even a minor external shock would be enough to trigger a chain of mass defaults, turning luxury condos into massive non-performing loans on financial ledgers. World economic history is a treasure trove of painful lessons regarding excessive asset speculation, and Canada is following a well-worn path. Look back at the 1997 Asian financial crisis and the IMF intervention, where the tiger nations collapsed. due to short-term foreign debt and real estate bubbles. Consider Greece and Argentina, where the combination of public and private debt erased the middle class in just a few years. The common thread is government complacency and a blind faith that assets will appreciate forever. In Turkey or Venezuela, when local currencies devalued and inflation soared, real estate became a final refuge, but also a liquidity grave when no one could afford to buy. Canada currently shares haunting similarities with Japan in the late 1980s, a nation that once owned the most expensive real estate on Earth before entering 3 lost decades. Unlike Venezuela, destroyed by hyperinflation, Canada faces internal erosion. A balance sheet recession similar to Japan's, where debt weighs down growth for generations, turning a dynamic nation stagnant and economically aged. The impact of this collapse on the Canadian economy extends far beyond charts. It is altering the social fabric. The construction industry, once the primary job engine, is beginning to lay off workers as new projects stall due to high borrowing and material costs. As real estate finance weakens, it drags down ancillary services, from lawyers and brokers to interior designers and retail. This creates a reverse multiplier effect. The Canadian dollar CAD is under immense pressure. If the BOC cuts rates too early to save the housing market, the currency will depreciate, driving up imported inflation. Conversely, if rates stay high, the banking system faces extreme credit risk. The decline in asset values also creates an inverse wealth effect, as citizens feel poorer due to depreciating homes. They slash spending, pushing the economy into a protracted recession. Canada's major pension funds and institutional investors, who poured billions into commercial and residential real estate, are now facing significant write-downs, directly impacting the long-term social security of millions of citizens. The response from the Canadian government and the central bank is currently akin to a tightrope walker in a storm. On one hand, they strive to maintain public confidence with statements about the resilience of the financial system. On the other, the BOC is quietly preparing emergency liquidity packages for smaller credit institutions at risk of failure. The federal government has attempted to boost demographic imports, accelerating immigration, hoping to create new housing demand to catch the falling market. However, this strategy is backfiring as infrastructure and public services fail to keep pace, creating social tension and driving rents to unaffordable levels. Interventions like vacant home taxes or capital controls are merely temporary painkillers for a stage 4 financial cancer. The contradiction between fiscal policy, government spending, and monetary policy tightening rates is undermining economic management. Without a miraculous soft landing, policymakers may be forced to make agonizing choices. Either sacrifice the currency's value to bail out banks, or let the market correct itself and accept a painful but necessary purge. Within this vortex, the personal lives of Canadians are being torn apart. Young families who exhausted their savings and maximized their leverage to buy their first homes in the 2021 to 2022 window are now living in absolute terror. Mortgage stress is no longer an economic term. It manifests as sleepless nights, broken relationships, and vanished future plans. When interest rates at renewal double or triple, many households are forced to cut everything from groceries to education just to pay the bank. The middle class, the backbone of society, is being erased, becoming a cetrich, cash poor. The harsh reality is that many own million-dollar homes but cannot afford a decent dinner. In major cities, the sight of tent encampments rising next to empty luxury condos is the most powerful testament to the failure of a speculation-based economic model. The wealth gap is widening as elites with cash wait for the collapse to seize assets at fire sale prices, while average workers remain trapped with debt they can never fully repay. Survival strategy in this era requires a mindset entirely different from the previous decade. The golden rule now is cash is king and preserving liquidity. For individuals, minimizing financial leverage at all costs is the top priority. Those intending to buy the dip in real estate must be cautious, as the bottom of a debt crisis is usually a multi-year process, not a few months. Diversifying investment portfolios outside of Canada, particularly into highly liquid assets denominated in other strong currencies, can serve as a shield. For those burdened by debt, negotiating with banks or accepting an early loss is sometimes wiser than holding on until everything is lost. The practical insight here is, never trust advice from those who profit from your debt. In a silently collapsing economy, the ability to adapt and stay sober amidst false optimism is your strongest weapon. Learn to operate in the real economy, where value is derived from actual production and services, not from inflating the price of bricks. When looking at the big picture, the collapse of Canada's real estate finance sector is not an accident, but the inevitable result of accumulated errors. We built a castle on sand, where prosperity was borrowed from the future of the next generation. This silent collapse is a wake-up call regarding the limits of debt-driven growth. However, in the ashes of the crisis, there lies an opportunity for a healthier restructuring. The Canadian economy must return to core values: innovation, sustainable resource extraction, and productivity growth rather than simply flipping condos. This transition will be incredibly painful and could last a decade. Those who survive and thrive after the storm will be those who understand the mechanics of the game and refuse to be swept away by herd mentality. This is a time to redefine wealth and stability. A truly strong nation is not one with the highest home prices, but one with a solid financial foundation and the resilience to withstand external shocks without shattering its social structure. We have walked together through the darkest corners of the current Canadian economy, from cold CDS figures to the silent personal tragedies behind closed doors. The unfolding collapse does not resemble the scenarios we see in movies. It is slow, persistent, and ruthless. It challenges our faith in the financial system and the role of the state. But remember, economics is not just about numbers. It is about human behavior and choices. As an old chapter closes with the dissolution of illusions, a new one opens. With lessons written in blood, will we choose to keep patching an obsolete system with new debt? Or will we be brave enough to accept a total purge to build a sturdier future? The final question is not when the market will recover, but this: when the real estate bubble completely vanishes. What will Canada have left to be proud of on the global economic map? And are you as a link in that system ready for a reality where a home is no longer a money printing machine?